Good afternoon, everyone. We are now in the second half of Proverbs chapter 31, and we are continuing on from verse 16. Now, we left it yesterday in verse 15, where it describes the industrious woman, the value of the worth of the woman is such that she rises early while it is still dark, and then she provides food for the household, her tent. For example, this, in case you are not aware, this literally means her tent. And then a portion for her maid servants, and then we have seen this as an A and a B, and both are talking about food, right? And so she takes care of all of them. And now, when we get to verse 16, now always remember the background of this chapter is that it's not talking about the woman of today. The activities that the woman does is because of the time of Solomon and in the Hebrew lifestyle. And they live in tents. They live in different communes. They have a very Hebraic culture. And so it's important for us to now realize that we must actually, how should you say, we must actually understand that the way it describes the woman should not be understood in the modern times. That much I hope that all of us will bear in mind. Otherwise, you'll be really stressed up and people will tell you to be something that you're not. So we are now learning about the principles of what the woman may describe, and principles would transcend time. All right. And so let's look at the chapter and look at the principles first. So in verse 16, she says, she considers a field and buys it. And from her profits, she plants a vineyard. Now, in the translation, this idea here is consider, it literally means she plans. So she is an active participant in this particular endeavor. When it says a field, this is an open field, flat, so that you can actually plant something. It's an agricultural environment. And then she ponders over it, and then it says that, and then she buys it or she acquires it. Okay, and so now she is an owner of a piece of land. Now, as an owner of a piece of land, then it says here, from her profits, she plants a vineyard. I think this would be something that we need to work out a little bit, right? I think this is something which we have to be a bit aware of how the translation works in the Hebrew. The reason why I'm saying that is because it is not quite the way we see it. In verse 16, it says that she contemplates the field and buys it. And so this is correct. The next one is, from her profits, she plants a vineyard. Now, what profits are we talking about? And so this word here, her profits, literally means the fruit of her hands. From the fruits of her hand, she then plants or establish a vineyard. And so planting, establishing is okay. Vineyard means an entire garden of grapes. Now, the idea here is I really don't think we're talking about profits here. The fruit of her hands means the things that she has made, that she has made some money from, that she uses that to plant grapes. Now, understand this: fruits is and grapes, at least in the land of Israel, is a very prized possession. And so the vineyard that she plants is intended for better things in life. Verse 17, she girds herself with strength. She strengthens her arms. Now, this is about this is an A and a B, and this is about strengthening. Let's understand this. She girds herself. The idea of girding herself is to put on a belt. We have the English idiom that says, let's tighten our belts. But the idea of tighten the belt, it's very much like a picture of a weightlifter. You've got to tighten the belt so that when you exert yourself, you have more power. Okay, that's the picture that we are looking at with this woman. So she girds herself, she tightens her belt so that there is power or strength, right? Or power. And this is what power, this really talks about power in her waist, right? Or hips. Now, you don't see that word here in the English, but I'm just telling you it's there. And so the picture is that she is pulling her belt to increase power to herself. The second part here is that she is making herself strong. This also means strengthen. This also means strengthen. But this is strengthening. This is making secure. Right? It is also making firm. And what does this mean? It's making firm in her arms. Her arms, right? Her arms is metaphorically as somebody of strength to do work. It's metaphorical to do work, of authority. And so this is about strengthening herself to doing things or fulfilling her role. And the role is very extensive in this chapter, as you can see. Verse 18, she perceives that her merchandise is good. Her lamp does not go out by night. Now, the word here perceives. The word perceives here means to taste. She tastes that her merchandise is good. It's about tasting, and so it's perceived, right? That's the English term. But the idea is to taste what she makes, right, is good. And this is merchandise. This is something that she trades with. And she knows that it is good, tov. And she is looking at what she has, and she's saying that this is good to her in her eyes, right? In her eyes. Now, what is she using to trade? We don't know, right? But there must be some handiwork, something that she bakes, she cooks, or whatever that may be. This is about the things that she is being very industrious. And the second one is her lamp. Now, understand that this lamp is a lamp for light, which means that she does she's industrious all the way to the nighttime. And when she is in the nighttime, the idea here is that it does not go out, it is not extinguished. And the idea here is that she keeps working, okay, into the night. And she is producing good things. And so this really tells us that she is very industrious. She is strengthening herself to do work to make money out of it. Verse 19, now this is not about the woman going out to plant and to weed and do all the hard work and go hunting. This is about what she can actually do. And she is industrious because time of day is not of the essence. So it doesn't stop her when there is no light. She turns on the lamp. She lights a lamp and she doesn't go away early. Verse 19, she stretches out her hands to the distaff. The idea of the distaff is the spindle. And this is, she's spinning. She's spinning cloth. Her hand holds the spindle. And you get this other word for spindle, the whirl of a spindle. This idea here is that this is the spindle that is whirling. Now, if you have not seen people using the old way of making cloth, it's a spindle that is spinning, and when you sew, the thread will come out and it's spinning. And so this is the idea of the spinning. So she is making clothes. She is making things for the household, and sometimes she also sews the tent, the squares as well. So very industrious. She's very able. She's very dexterous. Then she extends her hand to the poor. She reaches out hands to the needy, and immediately you could see an A and a B. The poor and the needy is usually linked together. Now, the word poor here literally means somebody who is afflicted and thereby also needy. And the second word, needy, means that he is in want, really short of things. And so these two words are synonyms. And then what does she do? Then she says she extends her hand. Literally, you would find that she is spreading out. She's stretching out. And it's not a hand, it's her palms. And you need to understand, in the old days, when you like today, when you want to shake a person's hand, you stretch out not your hand, but an open hand. And that would be your palms. So that's how the word is used. And it means that you are showing sympathy, you're showing empathy, you are showing friendliness to embrace the poor. The second word is this. You actually send out her hand. Now, send out her hand, now in this case is both hands. Right? Both hands. It's in the dual form. To the needy. To the needy. And so this is helping the poor and needy. Now, is this important? And I must tell you, yes, it is. This is what, how would you say, tzedakah, right? Tzedakah. This is what tzedakah is all about. Generosity, being open-minded to helping the poor, the needy, the orphans, the widows. Why do we keep saying that? Because not doing this is called Hamas, injustice. And in the prophets and in the minor and major prophets later on, you would read that Israel and then Judah mistreated all these poor, afflicted, needy, widow, orphans in society. And God came to account for it. Verse 21. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. Now understand this, she is not afraid. The word afraid here is about yareh. Yareh means to be fearful. She is not fearful. Now this same word is the same expression, fear God. And so she fears God and she is not afraid of the snow, right? That is her picture here. She is not afraid of the snow that comes down. Now, understand that in Israel, in the winter months, there is snow. And it does get cold enough to have snow. And so it says that she is not afraid of the snow. Now, using the same word to fear God, she fears God, but she doesn't fear the snow. And that is about her household. And we have seen this in verse 15, her tent. For all her household, her whole tent, right, is clothed with scarlet. Now, the idea of scarlet seems to be a color, but this also implies clothing that is warm. So that's the word that is being implied here. So she is not afraid because she has prepared for the cold. So she is a very prepared woman. She anticipates and there is nothing for her to worry about. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Now understand this, that fine linen and purple these are what we call expensive and classy material. It is also used for the tabernacle that God had asked for, right? Which means that they are valuable cloth. And so it says here, she makes tapestry. Now the word tapestry here means spread. Spread for the bed and spread for herself. And by spread, it literally means a bed covering. And so she has something that she sleeps on. Her clothing, the word clothing here literally means the garments that she has, right? Her garments. And so she is well dressed. Her apparels is well. Where she sleeps on is good. Now it talks about the husband. Now, if you recall, the word husband earlier on in, let's see, which verse was the husband? That would be in verse 11. Thank you. In verse 11, the word there is Baal, right? Baal, Lord of the house. Lord of the house. And in verse 23, same Baal, Lord of the house. Now, I'm sure that we may get a bit uncomfortable with such description of the husband. Now, the English word is not husband. The meaning is that he is the man of the house. He is the guy who calls the shots. Well, in a household, the man is the head. The woman supports the man. But in verse 11, you can see the relationship such that when she is so enterprising, he completely trusts her. And so we could see in verse 11 a very unique relationship. Now in verse 23, same, her Lord is known in the gates. Now the word know here, or has become known, or become well known, right? Well known. In the gates. Now, whenever we talk about gates, this would be the entrance to the city. At the entrance to the city, it is where the leaders, the judges, the elders, etc., will all sit there and they would discuss important things with regards to the family and the tribe, tribal matters. And then the word here, he sits among the elders of the land. Now the word sit literally is sit, right? Because people sit at the gates among the elders of the land. And the word elders are the older leaders. Now, in the Hebrew sense, it's just like Chinese, really. He is the patriarch. He is the elderly of the family. And usually the elderly of the family carries a lot of weight in their opinions. And so that is what elders here means, and elders of the land. And so it tells us that the husband or the Lord or her Lord is well known, and she also, by virtue of being the wife, is also well known. Now, being well known is a reputation, that he has a name for good reasons. And by extension, she should have a good name as well. Verse 24, she makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. So she actually, so an A and a B, she actually sells clothing and material. And this is also from the earlier verses, right? In the spindles that she's using in verse 19. And so there is an income that she generates, but more interestingly, she can be independent. Now, in today's world, when you are independent, people think that they don't need a man. And that's where many of the misunderstanding comes about. So in this particular environment, and in chapter 31, the woman is very industrious. She's very good in her economics. She's very good in her accounting. She's very good with her hands. Now, whenever you say that these are that she is the only one doing it, I would say that she is not the only one doing it. She has her mates. So understand that whenever you use the word she, for example, like here, she. So the word she doesn't mean a single individual. Or no, means that the woman, the virtuous woman, or the woman of high value. So she means that she is the head, and behind her would be her mates, right? Her maid servants that would be with her to do much of the work. You could see this kind of a Hebrew concept, for example, in the book of Exodus, when Bezalel was in charge of making the tabernacle. There's so many things to do, but only his name came about. But there was a hint that there were other people that they trained to do the work, but they didn't get the name. Only he got the name, Bezalel. And so in this case, you would see that the woman gets the name, and she and her entourage would be the one that would be doing the work. And she would sell it to people, the middleman who would buy and sell. So these are merchants. Verse 25, strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. Now notice immediately you would find strength and honor. First of all, strength means, I would say this would be what is positive, what is power to her. And the word honor, honor here means splendor. She's a woman after all, right? Splendor. Her comeliness. Now this is an old English word, right? It means the way she carries herself, the way she walks, the way she dresses. We're not talking about the physical clothing, although the metaphor is the physical clothing. And when it says clothing, it really means her garments, her apparel. We saw earlier that she dresses very well, right? She dresses very well. See, her tapestry is for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. But this clothing is not talking about verse 22. This clothing is describing her character, of her positiveness, her strength, and the way she carries herself as a person. That's what it means. And then it says, she shall rejoice in time to come. In time to come. Now, first of all, the word rejoice here is she will have laugh. She will have her laugh. Laugh has two meanings, right? One is to mock. That's the negative side. One is to rejoice and laugh out loud, and that would be the positive. And in time to come, in the end times, after all this is said and done, she will be rejoicing because things are good. People remember her. Why? Because in this she has made herself a good name. So a woman's good name is just as important as a man's good name. All right. Now in verse 26, she opens her mouth with wisdom. And on her tongue is the law of kindness. Now, let me just point out to you, if you can't see it, you should be able to see an A and a B. When she opens her mouth, she will be using her tongue. And so something is going to come out of the mouth. In verse 26, the first thing is hokmah. The second one is law is Torah. And then this is chesed. Loving kindness, right? Faithfulness, being true. And so the instructions of being honest and faithful and true comes out of her tongue. She is talking about it. And then here she opens her mouth. She would speak wisdom. Now remember what wisdom was, right? I have explained it before. It would be understanding. And this would be discernment. It would be knowledge of life. It would be intelligence. To know how to apply things and to come up with solutions. And that's what wisdom is all about. She is not just merely talking about knowing how to do economics, plant grapes, weave clothing, but this is about life. Whenever the book of Proverbs speaks about wisdom, it refers to the wisdom that comes from knowing God, from appreciating God's words. And so the Torah of Chesed literally means God's instructions. And so wisdom and God's instructions are synonyms. So whenever you talk about wisdom, we're not talking about secular wisdom that you know how to do your economics, how to cook well. It is not smartness. It is not intelligence of science. You know a lot of science and math and you're a doctor. That's not what it means. Whenever the Bible, especially in the book of Proverbs, speak about wisdom and Torah and Chesed and so on and so forth, it means that these are God's instruction of faithfulness, of loving kindness. And so that these are good words to teach others how to live. And so she is skilled in the word of God. Now, in many occasions, people tend to think that, well, it's for the scribes, the Levites, the priests who will know. But she is not either one of them. But she knows, which means that a woman of esteem, a woman of high value in the eyes of God, is also one with wisdom, who knows God's word, who have gone through life using God's words. Verse 27, she watches over the ways of her household. She does not eat the bread of idleness. Now understand, these are particular expressions of Hebrew, right? These are Hebrew expressions. So it is not just a literal translation. So just be aware. So let's break this down. The word watch means she looks out. Looks out. Keep watch. Keep watch over what? Over the ways, how they walk. Now, how they walk is actually a Hebrew concept of how people conduct their lives. How they walk in an everyday, are they walking straight or are they walking away from God's path? So she's keeping an eye on her tent. Now, her tent is very important because in her tent are children who are not married. And so she takes care to groom and teach them. That's 27. And she is not sluggish. right? Not sluggish or lazy. She does not eat the bread of of idleness, means that she doesn't eat the bread of laziness. Now, does not take as food the bread. So literally bread, and so it also means food. It tells us that she is very vigilant. She is careful over the conduct of her tent. All those under her care. She is never lazy. She is always alert. That's what it means. Verse 28. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Now, this is interesting. This is a picture of the morning time. And when we talk about her children, it speaks about her sons. And in this case, we're talking about unmarried. Okay? Unmarried. The word rise up means to arise or to, well, I suppose you can say wake up. And when they wake up, they call the mother, right? They call the mother. And the idea here is that they call the mother, says call her blessed. The word blessed here is not Baruch. It is Asher. Call her blessed means two things here. One, she can walk level. Two, walking level means happy. Blessed is the man who does not walk, does not stand, does not sit. Where do you hear this from? Psalms chapter 1, verse 1. That's the same word. Now, why is one happy when they walk level? Well, when you're walking level, you are happy in the Hebrew context. And she is level. Everything that she's doing is moving fine. Everything is level. She doesn't have to climb mountains to get things done. And so she is happy. And so the children will call her happy. Now, the word happy, or it's really not so much to call, it is to how should you say? Well, you can use call, you can use describe, right? Describe, or wish her, right? Wish her. It's like, you know, when you have kids in the morning, when they climb onto your bed and says, "Good morning, mommy." Well, it's not a Western world. It's a Hebrew world. And so they wake up and says, "Mommy, Asher." Right? And that means to be happy. And that would make her happy. All right? Now, the second part is this. Her Baal, her Lord, praises her. Praises her means to halal her, and the whole idea of halal is to shine light on her. And that's what it means by praise. So you notice the husband, the Baal, although he is the Lord of the house, he cares for her in a very intimate way. And he knows how to express truthful and yet praiseworthy words. Well, she is praiseworthy. Verse 29. It says that many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. So let's look at this. Many means a lot, a great number. A great number of daughters. And this really would mean daughters. And you remember yesterday I was saying, everything you're reading in chapter 31 is about a mother who has taught a daughter, and she grows up to be this woman of virtue, and she is now teaching her children so that they too will one day grow up as one. And so the description here says there are a great number of daughters in this world or in the land, right? And it says have done well. The word done well is they have performed with power. Now, this is a very archaic way of expressing. It means that they have also been industrious, very hardworking, very successful, did many things. But it says, but you excel them all. Them would be the daughters, all right? The word excel literally means you climb or you go up and over. So if these are the women of the day, right? She is the one, or this particular woman is the best of them all. Now, that's the expression. All the women are taught well by their mothers. But in this particular one, she has gone way beyond. And you know that the character of this woman is really way beyond. Right? So verse 30. Charm is deceitful, beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Let's break this down. First of all, this word here is hen, and this word is grace. All right? And used in this context, it is talking about elegance. All right? In a way where she carries herself and other people will accept her, will have favor upon her. And that is what grace is all about, right? She carries herself in a way where everyone is very acceptable of her. And it said deceitful here is shakar. Shakar means it's a deception. It tells her that don't focus purely on those things that make you look good. So beauty, in this case, means, beauty is about the face, right? About the face, about adornment. Passing here would mean hevel, right? Hevel. And this would be like vanity of vanities. All is vanity, as in the book of Ecclesiastes. And so now you have an A here and a B here. Now, understand this. It is not to say that elegance or grace is not good. It is good, but it is transient. So it is in comparison to fearing the Lord and be praised. All right? And so grace or elegance or being seen with favor by others, and then beauty as in adornment, how you dress up. So now the description here is this: This one here, don't be misled. This one here, don't think this is permanent. It is not. Having grace and elegance is great. When people love you, it is great. But do not be lulled into it that it is your ability, that you are the greatest woman in the world, right? And so the description here is this, but a woman, and this word here is ish, who fears the Lord. Just now, it says that she does not fear the snow, but she fears the Lord. She is afraid of the Lord. Please do not take this as a reverential whatever, right? You've heard me say this before. I do not wish to offend anyone, but I just want to give you the Hebrew understanding. The word here, fear, literally means be afraid of God. Why? Because God is a consuming fire, and so her choices, her decisions that she makes must be very careful. And so when she fears God, everything she does is very calculated and measured against the word of God. And what does that make her? Very wise. And it says here, she shall be praised. Cause the light to shine on her. That is an incredible description here. When you look at this particular phrase, charm, let me use a different color. Charm is deceitful, beauty is passing. It is not to say that they are no good, but there is a better way, fearing God and gaining praise because she fears God, instead of gaining praise because she's beautiful and she is charming or she's elegant. So let me just remind all of us here as women. The text is not saying don't look nice. Please do not misunderstand. It is important. She is dressed well. She carries herself well. She finds right clothes to wear. She's industrious. So in this case, her external grace that people see and accepting her is a good thing. Her beauty that she adorns herself is also a good thing. But it is in contrast to what is more permanent. That this is even better. And that is the reason why it is said this way. This is even better. Look good, great. Dress well, great. People love you, great. But if they only like you for what you have done to yourself, then it is not as good as when they praise you because you fear the Lord. You fear Jehovah. And in God's eyes, through the words of Solomon, he is also saying that in the book of Proverbs, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge in chapter 1. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom in chapter 10. Here, fear the Lord and you will be able to speak words of wisdom. See, words of wisdom don't come up because that you've slept long enough or you work long enough, but when you fear God, you would obey his words. You know what that means and you know how to conduct yourself. She shall be praised. Verse 31, give her of the fruit of her hands and let her own works praise her in the gates. Now look at this. Verse 31 says this, give to her, and this way is from the fruit of her hands, and let her own deeds be praiseworthy. And then it says here, in the gates. Now remember where the gates are, right? The gates is where everybody congregates, where it's important people congregate. The elders congregate, the judges congregate, the leaders congregate. And her husband, her Baal, is already well known there. What about her? She too is well known because of what she has done with her hands, her own works. And this, again, let me just point out to you, is an A and a B. Fruit of her hands, her own works are synonyms. What she does, she is not inheriting a name from the husband. She is inheriting a name because she has been outstanding. She fears God. She can advise people. She takes care of her family, what's important. She's industrious. She makes things happen, and she's always there before the sun comes up, and she's still there when the sun goes down. And then she is praiseworthy in the gates. And so she now makes a name, like the husband, for herself. Not because of her husband, but because of herself. Now, many a times people think that, a woman always gets accolades because of a husband. In chapter 31, this woman of valor, this woman of virtue, this woman of high worth in the eyes of God is one who can stand up on her own, is one who knows God for herself, who helps and rules and teaches her family and watches over them so that they don't fall, knows how to conduct their lives, be very industrious. So in principle, you would see that this woman here is way, way outstanding. Like this phrase here, but you excel them all. You are far better than all of them. Now, does that mean that the other women are useless and no good? Absolutely not. But excellence is the principle here. And I'm not sure whether I mentioned this to you before, but in the Bible, people of God excels. People of God, or people who know God, people who fear God, excels. Why? Not because God infused them with supernatural talent, but because they fear God, they know everything they do is watched by God, and that it needs to please God. And if it pleases God, guess what? It pleases her husband. And when it pleases her husband and her husband trusts her, like in this chapter, she makes a name for herself because she is a woman who fears God. He is absolutely elated because she is independent of herself, not because of him. And together, the family is absolutely strong. And so a woman learns this from the previous generation, and this generation teaches the next generation, and so on and so forth. But all in all is this. It is not a supernatural thing. It is a natural progression when one invests time to walk with God and know the roles and responsibility. And in so doing, fearing God makes her very careful in everything she does. This is not to say she's going to look very simple and don't care. I always believe that a woman is to take care of herself because that's her natural beauty. She has to look good. Nothing wrong with that. And that would be too archaic. The Bible encourages that, but that's always a but. But that is not what she is depending on for her name. Her name is obtained from fearing God. And with this, we come to the end of chapter 31.